Let's go. Hit the intro. Let's go.
Oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. No one knows what cartoon, no one, none of these. So what's going on in the world? And I'm just giving my 2 cents.
Just my 2 cents.
Go ahead and read and support the house. You don't have no rest.
Woo! I like that. All right, let's go. Quiet on set. Quiet on Set is this documentary that's on, I believe, HBO Max, and it details 4 episodes, like a mini series, mini documentary on what was like for the child actors in Nickelodeon. They kind of talked about some of the Disney stars, but mostly what was happening at Nickelodeon Studios. Now, I wanted to discuss this because I promised to discuss it and gotten completely busy and didn't have the time. So let's get into it now. A lot of people have asked me because Keenan and Kel, Nick Cannon, and all of them were at Nickelodeon, so I would know something about it. I've met these guys, so what do I know? Did I meet Pickle Boy and and all this stuff? I couldn't tell you if I knew Pickle Boy or not. Don't really remember him at all. When this thing first started off, they had Dan Schneider as the main guy. The guy that they didn't want to say too much of his name was Brian Robbins, because he doesn't want anything to really do with this anymore because he no longer works for Nickelodeon. Brian was working there, Brian Robbins, and when they were created, Brian was the guy that really saw him and took Kel in, because Kel is the guy that I knew at the time. So Brian was the guy who worked mostly with all of that, with the all that show with Dan. So they never really had to experience too much of the Dan era. That kind of happened a little bit after these guys were gone. Well, the thing is, see, here's the problem. Dan didn't realize at the time that when you become like the Suge Knight of the business for kids, television, entertainment, is going to come with this. Dan has made a lot of money for that network. We're talking billions. And these people who were coming up and down there, it was like, what the hell is going on here? It really was. It was like a what the hell is this? That's how my mind, what I saw was, what the hell am I looking at? When it first started off, I'm like, okay, so are they saying he's sexist? Are they saying he's a child predator? What are they saying about Dan? So, because it seemed to be targeting Dan. So as I'm watching it and I'm going after the story, the first episode mostly covers Dan's power and what happened with him when he became in charge. See, Kanan and Kel wasn't really there anymore when this was starting to go, until where all of the controversy happened at Nickelodeon. When Dan got his control, Keenan and Kel show, they had another showrunner in there. They had Brian Robbins, who was dealing with them. So Brian was dealing with them, and he was there only as created by, creating the characters. but they were there long before it became a big mess. Amanda came in near the end of all that, when all that was getting ready to ascend. She was the little girl they put on all that, and he worked personally with her on her skits and all the stuff that was involving Amanda Bynes. And that was true because I always thought Amanda Bynes was the other girl that was on the show, but I saw the other girl. That's the girl I remember, the one that's not there anymore. So when she was on the show, I said, oh, okay, I remember her. She's not there now. Okay, she was there, so her name was Heather. I always thought that was still Amanda Bynes. I didn't know. I was like, well, she just grew up. But no, that was the other girl. Then Amanda came on the show. So that's what triggered the confusion. So only thing this show did was take the confusion. So I was like, okay, so the weird girl that we saw, that's not her. That was all right. It all makes sense now. No, it's just that Nickelodeon had never been anything in the children's comedy. Like for this type of format was only for Disney. They had never did that. All that was like the first show on Nickelodeon that was a kids programming show. So the parents was on set a lot. Kale mother had to take over because the father was doing it for a while. Then he turned it over to the mom because he just didn't want to deal with this no more. It's a lot of hours, and you got to be there while the kids are there because they're not, of age, and they got to show up to class and do homework and everything else. So, like they were showing you on the show, that's true. Kel was in high school. He got on the show when he was 15. I think he was 15 years old when he got the nod. So he's in high school. So all of his work for school was sent because he went to CVS in Chicago. So they would send all his work. They have all his work and stuff sent to Orlando. So he had to just leave school altogether because this was his job. So while they getting paid and everything, this is like, all right, we're doing good. This is going to put us where we need to be. This is work for them. They got to work days, like hours and hours, but they have the child law. The child labor law prevents them from working X amount of hours. Dan was just squeezing all he could out of these people. But Brian Robbins was there, so Brian would be like the buffer. He was the main guy that was going to do it by the book. Yeah, I mean that's what they were known for. Nickelodeon was known for cartoons, like Ren and Snippy and all that. That's what they were bread and butter was. This was a whole nother genre. All that came out and it beat Disney. Nobody had ever beaten Disney. For the first time, Nickelodeon was on top and ahead of Disney. So Disney panicked. And it was all about these two women who got underpaid. But this happened when Amanda Bynes came into power. So if anybody worrying about Nick Cannon, Keenan, and Kel, and who was touching on their booties and all this stuff, like if y'all looking to get that out of me, that y'all it ain't nothing to get out because this wasn't happening there. Like it did during this time, that was definitely not happening in this Nickelodeon era. They were just coming up. Nobody was doing that at all. They were already gone by that time. They were already gone. Keenan and Kel and all that stuff, they were out the door before this happened. This is the era where this is the new generation. So this start happening with the new cast, the new characters, the new generation of people. So they start bringing in female writers because they were getting ready to write for a female, and they were like, "Why doesn't Nickelodeon have female writers?" So they brought in two female writers that they had that was basically interning and brought them up. No. So once Dan was once he saw Amanda Bynes is super talented. She was outstanding as an actress, character for a young person. She was a young grown person. She was doing stuff grown people couldn't do. So she was great from the moment they saw Amanda Bynes. But yeah, they stopped paying attention to the other girl and they ended up letting her go. And of course, what you're hearing here is what happens with child actors when they're told by the business they no longer need their business. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, here's where situations get a little tricky. People forget that Disney had they had the girl that was growing up. They had the Olsen twins, and they had the Caden and what's her name? They had them making their little home movies. Kate and Michelle. Then they had the redhead girl with the freckles, who went end up going crazy too. But they had her. But back to this program. So the women on the first episode are complaining about they have to split their pay. That was terrible. That was terrible by Dan trying to cut money from them, and it was bad. It was just bad. I mean, that's the thing. Carly was on the show, Drake and Josh. She was the little sister, Amanda Miranda Cosgrove, and she was the little girl in the show. She started doing iCarly right when the time the internet was blowing up. But the writing at this time was starting to go into another direction. So the women complained about why they got to split their salary. So they had to pay the girls. And by the end of the year, Dan was just bad at that time with managing people. He was very much old school and wasn't ready for the changing times. And when you're not ready for the changing times, you can get swallowed. And that's what happened. They got swallowed. Um, a lot of problems ensued on set for this show. It was gut wrenching. Um, sitting there watching what was happening was terrifying. Dan just did not know how to work with people, telling crazy, inappropriate jokes, having people do weird things. Dan's just a weird person, has a weird personality, and it's funny to him to slip past the censorship people jokes that are like for adults that adults would get and kids wouldn't really get, but to have a kid deliver it and just he's just laughing because they were able to sneak it on the show. It's just Dan has a sick sense of humor, sick behavior. And by him being in charge fully, really was a bad idea for Nickelodeon. Um, he's somebody that you need to have like borders on. You can't let that dog run the yard loose. And that's the thing with Dan. Dan was very good at protecting his talent and doing what he was supposed to do on that level. But you have to trust Dan, you have to talk to him. And if you don't let him know what's going on and you're just doing your own thing, then unfortunate things happen, like what happened with Drake Bell. So watching the show, we start seeing what happened in the second episode when they start bringing in the new cast of all that. They hold a whole new cast. They got rid of the old players, players of the game because they got older, of course. And once all of them gotten older in the game, they were pretty much ostracized. They were kept at bay, and they got a tighter group. Dan's in charge completely now. It's just his baby. He's running it. And at this time, I think Brian Robbins is gone. He's left. He's into the movies now. He's directing his own films. He's not dealing with Nickelodeon anymore. He's gone. So Brian Robbins is out the door. He's doing his own thing. So Dan's got the whole ship. And this is where it starts to go off the rails. That one guy who seemed really nice and was nice to the children, and he talked crazy, sent the nude to a little girl, like stuff like that was disturbing, very disturbing. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. But that was just sick. And she should have definitely done something. But when you're in that position where you don't want people to target your daughter, and this is Hollywood, she just like, I'm just gonna keep my child away from him. But then there was, situations where there was some girl he did get close to, a 9-year-old. He had little girls sending him underwear in the mail. The guy was just really sick, and he was just so nice to everybody. They never saw it coming from him. But that's what it's like. You never really know these people. Just protect your children. Just protect your children. Nobody's ever going to be mad at that. But it goes from that to the treatment of the black actors. This was told definitely with an agenda. They really was targeting Dan and making Dan out to be the worst person ever to work for in human existence, just in case he gets back into television. So I'm listening to see, I'm like, man, they're really going in on Dan. And I'm like, I just understand Dan's problem, but Dan's a genius. Like he is really good at what he does for the show. Really good for the show. He knows how to make, like, how he can find stars. He knows who's going to be a star on the show and say, that's the one. Like, this person is it. Dan is really good at that and putting together a cast. And, I didn't watch these shows, but they definitely perform. And not only, how hard it is to make one show hit, Dan had about 5, 6 shows that was hitting. That's almost incredible. That's next level. That is next level. When you have all these shows hit, like back to back to back. So the police did a raid on the one guy, and they arrested that guy on the set and everything, and took him in. And then they called all the kids into the room, told the parents to get out, and asked the kids, did this guy ever do anything to you? And put that pressure all on the kids to say something in front of all the other kids. If that guy had ever did anything, what child is going to tell you that? And why would you take the parents out of the room? So, it was just done horribly. Nickelodeon staff who did that. Dan actually said, I have nothing to do with that. That was Nickelodeon. They decided to handle that, which is true. Dan actually says what they said about the salaries is incorrect because I don't deal with salary. We have a department that does that. So I'm not the one that says pay them this, pay them that. They have salaries. They have a department for that. So I'm not the one that's saying this and this. So she quit. The other girl quit because she didn't like whatever Dan said to her or whatever. So she just like, I quit. I'm suing Dan. So she settled, They paid her a settlement or whatever to go away, be quiet or whatever. So she got her money and she went off into the sunset into this documentary. But so far, Dan hasn't hurt any children. Dan was just mean on the set. So now it's about how he's treating black people. So now he's doing all that show. They have one black character on the show, and this kid, black teenager, like they had him and his mom on there, and she didn't like some of the stuff they was writing. Now, this is where when Dan takes over fully and there's nobody there to put the brakes on Dan, all of Dan's ideas are getting passed through. And they basically do a fear factor with children, with like real stuff. Like they put peanut butter on the black guy and let the dog lick the peanut butter off of him. He didn't like that at all. The mom didn't like that. And the mom kept asking questions and kept doing all these things. And he was like, Mom, chill out. You're going to get me fired. I'll just have to do it. So, and he was the black actor, they come on, can you just stay a little longer? Can you just stay past the child labor laws, which is illegal? The union found out he could have got in trouble. So he was trying to be a good soldier and kept, all right, I'm a good soldier and stick it out for you guys. And he was, oh, thank you. Thank you for doing that for us. So that's the gist of that and how that was going. And it was constant things like that. Like they made the black kid, the only black character on there, look like he was slinging drugs when he was slinging like some milk or whatever to the guy. Like, yo, I got that milk, son. And they chose the black character to play that part. His mom was very vocal about that. And Dan's like, oh my gosh, like here she go again, making it. She is one of those black mothers because she understands what that image means to everybody else that's watching that at home. And then on the other show, with Amanda Bynes' show, they have the black girl who's on there the first season. She did well on the show. And so she thought until it was her birthday and they gave her a cake and it was like, she doesn't need to eat that much cake. What? And starts going off, like going off the rails. Then her mom is like, whoa, nah, I want to jump in here. Well, the thing is, after that, there was a guy that was on the set that was working there that was just really weird. They named him Pickle Boy. He was always working with the lines with the actors, and he was gay. They knew the guy was gay, but they didn't think none of it. And after they decided to let the black girl go after one season, she had to go through therapy like the black guy. He got let go when they went to New York. He didn't get to say bye to his castmates. They were like his family, and he didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. And that ruined the relationship between him and his mother because he's like, you ruined this for me. So for years he had resentment. He went through drugs and drinking, had to go to rehab because he's a child. This was his dream to, I'm going to get my family a house. I'm going to do all this. And now it's all over. And he don't know why. And it was like, well, your mom was just too much to deal with. And it's just too much work. So they just let him go because they could. So wicked business. So two black actors are out of business and out of work for no reason. Now you go to the Amanda Bynes show again, and they bring in a girl who's talented. She can sing and dance, and they were going to bring her up under the Nickelodeon umbrella, put her on the Amanda Bynes show. So she has a scene where she's in the classroom, and she ended up meeting the guy that was, that bring the kids in, talks to the parents. So he ends up trading emails with the girl. This girl is like 11, 12 years old, and all of a sudden they're emailing each other and everything's cool. Then next thing you know, he emails her a picture of him pleasuring himself. It was sick, completely sick. And the lady didn't put him in jail, and she just kept him away from her, didn't email him back. And that's how that guy ended up getting caught. Now with Pickle Boy was on the set, and he was always the guy that they give pickles to the celebrities, everybody. And he had worked other sets, Growing Pains, he's countless sets. But Drake and Josh had just started to come along. Drake was in Jerry Maguire. He was done a couple of commercials, and he just needed that breakout role. He'd been guest spotting on a lot of TV shows. So they had an episode on, I believe, the Amanda Bynes show, and those two got into a little scuffle, Drake and Josh, and he was like, "Okay, there's your buddy comedy, right there." So Drake and Josh was formed, and they're getting ready to do the show, and this guy would always put Drake in all his stuff, like, and the father was on set with him. His father's like, "Man, why is he always touching on my son?" And he would always say that, like, "Man, you don't got it. He can dress himself. You supposed to just read lines with him. You don't need to be doing everything else like that. We got it. He could. You don't need to be touching my son, man. Like back up." So he's seeing this, and he goes and tells the office, like, "Why does this guy have to be around my son like that so much?" And they was like, "Oh, well, he's gay. Don't worry about him. Like, are you homophobic or something? Because he's like that. He's harmless. All he does is touch people. He's touchy. That's just how he is. But maybe that's just you being homophobic." So he's just like, "Oh, okay. I just fall back. I ain't trying to rustle no ways. I'm just trying to figure out why he needs to be around my son so much." So after he gets basically no reply, he goes ahead and says, "Well, this is it. I don't know what's going on here, but something's got to happen because this guy's always around my son." He started touching him, and he started saying now he realizes that dad's a problem. So in true pedo mode, dude goes into the try to convince the child the father's the problem. So he putting the plan in so he can talk to the mother because the father and mother are separated. Now he can work on the mom and say that how bad the father is. And the mom buys all his BS. And they fire the dad. And now the mom's in charge. And now the mom don't feel like driving an hour back and forth. So the guy's like, "He could stay in my house." And mom agrees. And that's when it started. And he was doing so many vile acts that it was insane. This guy he was a pen pal with John Wayne Gacy. They used to pen each other letters. He got them all stacked like it's an accomplishment. Like, "Look what I got." Sickening. And poor Drake, man, he just didn't know what to do and what was going on because who do he call? And Dan knew nothing about it. And when Dan found out, Dan actually was the one that was there for him because he stayed on the show. And while all this was going on, this guy's like, "See if you could talk to Dan and see if I could play the dad on the show." And he was like, "You're not going to have anything to do with this show." So that's when he broke down, told his mom what was going on. And from that point on, Dan didn't know anything. Dan kind of figured it was him. He's like, "Was it you?" When he talked to him and he told him, he's like, "Look, don't worry about nothing. I got you. If you need anything, just ask me, tell me, I got you." And Dan was there for him. And you heard him say that for you too. Dan was there for him. Dan didn't know what was going on. If Dan would have known what was happening, Dan would have protected him. Dan protects his product. Like with Amanda Bynes, she wanted to get emancipated from her parents. Dan just tried to help make that happen for her to keep her happy because he needs her there. Same thing happened to Hassan Campbell. I don't know. I think Hassan Campbell was throwing it back. I think he enjoyed it. uh, nah, I don't know. Let me stop saying that because I don't know what happened with him. But mhm. No, it's Dan is a sicko too. Yeah, he's got a sick sense of humor, but I haven't seen him do anything. You see what I'm saying? Dan takes me as a guy who was never liked in school. He was the big fat guy, never had any dates, never was looked at as the man. Now he's got money. Now he's the big bully on campus. He's Suge Knight amongst these kids. So he gets to boss them around and everything. But they did a job trying to make it look like he was just a sicko with the kids. You know, like he was really close to her. Look at this when he's in the hot tub in this scene and she's in a bikini. This just looks cringe. I mean, yeah, if you're looking at that stuff now, you can go back to the 80s and look at some. In today's world, everybody's so super sensitive about every little goddamn thing. They go, oh, this is cringe to look at now. Nobody gave a damn back then. They all had a problem with Dan Snyder because uh, Dan Snyder was a stickler. He was tough. He was hard to work with. He was a male chauvinist pig. You know, he didn't really care for black actors too much unless you was a star or somebody with real talent he could work with. Other than that, he really didn't care. He didn't have any real black people hanging around him. Um, so they don't like Dan. Dan tried to go to network TV, did not work. They was like, no, you got to get out of here. We want Amanda Bynes. We don't need you. Go on back over there. We'll just put like you're a producer. You get your EP credit by just name only. We don't even need you here. We'll pay you not to be here. So he went to go work on some other shows. Dan was like, I had other shows I was working on. So he came back to Nickelodeon and started working with them, and they were happy to get Dan back. And that's when he created all those shows, iCarly, Drake and Josh, all those shows that came in was smashing. Zoe 101, all these shows was crushing for Nickelodeon. And this is way after Kel and Nick and all them are gone. This is a whole new era. This is the 2000s now. Dan is crushing it. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people that didn't know what was going on because, like, it was before their time. Like, they get mad for anybody taking up for Dan, and I'm like, why is everybody getting mad for people taking up for Dan Snyder? Dan didn't do anything wrong, really, except for be an idiot with how he dealt with things and how he talked to people. So then they get mad and say, well, he was getting massages. It's like, what? Yeah, he got a massage. I'm like, okay, and what about the massage? Well, he got a massage and yeah, it was crazy. That's all they kept talking about was the massage. Like he got a massage and that's inappropriate. He was getting massages, inappropriate touching because he got a massage. The girls, he would have the girls, somebody in there give him a massage while he's doing this. That's what he'd get a neck massage in front of everybody while the thing is going on. And it was like, that is sexist. That is what I'm like, wow. It was one person that got touched that was on the cast that we know, maybe two. It was two guys that was arrested that I know of on the show. Two guys. Dan is not one of them. Dan didn't have anything to do with it. Dan did not hire them. He is the producer and everything else like that. But, how was he supposed to know what this guy's doing in his personal life? He never do nothing on the set. The one guy was doing stuff in his own house. They called him, kicked down the door, waving the 4-4 for all this child stuff he got. Yeah, that was the guy who they called. And it was like, I feel it coming on. I thought I had it under control. Like this dude, he knew what he was. Did they have three hired? I only remember two. I remember him and Mr. Pickles. That was it. The pickle man or pickle boy. But the bigger problem was they let no, the bigger problem was even when he went to court, Drake Bell, he testified in court. Well, he didn't have to. His mom took the stand. He had to show up in court. And he's looking at the side and he's seeing all the people that came to see the pickle boy, all the big heavyweight hitters in the industry. You got Alan Thicke was over there, all these producers, and this whole family, the Casanel family was in there. It was crazy as hell. They all defended him in the letter. What's her name? Joanne Kearns from Growing Pains. She's like, man, we were misinformed about all the things that he did. So that's why we had to fall back. Right. Dan Schneider defended Drake. He didn't sign no letter for that guy. He was on Drake's side the whole time. Oh, these people were all writing letters in defense of this guy. Like, he's a great human being. I can't see. But then again, you don't know what they've been told by him. You don't know what he's been told by him. Defending this. What the hell is he talking about? I said it was only one kid that I remember in the show that I remember them saying. The other girl, the mom found out what was happening, and he had been dealing with some other people that they didn't even know about. When they did the investigation, they found out more about that crazy Indian dude. You think we don't want that guy to go? I don't know what the hell you even talking about. Did you even see the show? I think you just in here talking. just to try to keep some mess going. Well, they ended up. Well, you couldn't fire Dan. Dan didn't do a damn thing when it came to that. That wasn't Dan's decision. He defended the Drake. He took care of Drake. He did everything he was supposed to do by him. You will never hear Amanda Bynes say a bad word about Dan. You never heard any of these people say bad words about Dan. Only 10 people that said bad words about Dan is the people that were fired by Dan. The people that didn't like the way he talked to them on the set. He didn't like the way he yelled at them. It was the way he said it to me on the phone, like he could hurt me. And these two women on there, they just wanted to they got their money. They didn't like the way Dan treated them. I ain't mad at them, but they tried to make Dan look like he was the one doing these crimes on the kids. The way they was trying to make it look. And that's what I was like, oh man, that's low down now. Y'all trying to throw Dan into the mix. Like Dan did something. Not one kid came out and said Dan did anything inappropriate ever. He was never fired for anything like that. And they was just saying illegal touching and all this stuff. Because as the time started changing, this is what they were dealt with. And as you saw, Nickelodeon fell to the ground. The TV programming now is crap. They brought Kale back. They brought Nick Cannon back. They trying to bring everybody back to save it. Oh, Ariana Grande too. Yeah, I almost forgot about her scenes. Like I don't even remember her from then because I didn't watch it. So watching all that stuff that he was writing for her was so cringe. Like he's a sicko. Don't get me wrong, Dan's a sicko, but he's like one of those dirty mind dudes. But he thinks it's funny. He thinks all the silly, sick stuff is funny to him. That's comedy. So what Dan was doing was trying to see how much stuff he could sneak past getting caught by it. Because they got every script, there's all that stuff got to get cleared. They have a department, they got to say, okay, this is approved, this is not approved. So he wants to see what he could sneak by them and had him do it on the show, and he's laughing. This is funny. So he wants to sneak this stuff on the screen. And he just think it's funny. It don't even hit his brain that this is a child doing all this stuff. Like it's a kid, dog. He just done the way he grew up. He probably grew up watching and doing sick stuff. Like watching Kevin Smith and all that crap and Jay and Silent Bob stuff. So his mind is probably warped. He was trying to see kids' their feet, and on Twitter. I don't know. I don't trust him either. I wouldn't let him babysit. I wouldn't be like, hey, babysit my kids. Let me get Dan over here with my kids. I wouldn't put my kids on a TV show with Dan. Period. So, have I watched something that he created? Calvin was on all that. He was part of the writing on there, right along with Brian Robbins. But we mostly knew Brian than dealing with Dan. So Dan wasn't really a problem. That's what I'm saying. Dan was never really a problem with us because we never really got in the way. Hmm. And I know you said Dan Snyder was part of the Kiki Palmer show. Yeah, on Nickelodeon and True Jackson VP. Yep. Yeah, he did that. Well, he had to fix his image because it was looking bad for him. Kiki Palmer already had a name going for her. She was coming up in the game. So she could sing, she could dance, she could act. That's what they call the triple threat. So that's why they had to get to her and get her a show going quick. They needed diversity. Yeah, Ariana Grande and all of them and how they all fell off and fell into drugs and all that. They have crazy work schedules. Once you hit a certain age limit and you emancipate yourself, you can now work longer hours. Right. I didn't have no reason to watch Nickelodeon. I was, it wasn't for me. So, what would I be looking like watching Ariana Grande? I didn't know about her until she was singing already. Sam and Cat. Oh no, I never watched that show. I saw R. Carly a lot because my cousin had to watch it, and that was it. They had the TV, and it was on all the damn time. Yeah, cousin Keaton, Kel, and iCarly. Yeah, all the other stuff was past. That's what I'm saying. All this other stuff that happened was past. Like anything when like King, they trying to get Keenan Thompson. That stuff happened way after Keenan was gone. They had been gone. Cousin Skeeter. But then the thing that was more alarming in all of it is that they took the one guy and made him the whole face of it all. Like they took the one guy and gave him another job at Disney, working with those two twins, those two twin boys. They had their show. He was working over there with them. I'm like, how would Disney hire like a dude who's been charged for pedophile? Like, how's he out of jail and he back at Disney? That didn't make no sense to me at all. How the hell does that happen? Because the people that wrote and defended him, they got to show the Canals, the family who wrote that letter, went over there and brought him in. He was protected by them people. So after he did all that to Drake Bell, and I mean the reports is sick. It is absolute sick. They go ahead and approve. Mm-mm-mm. He gets a slap on the wrist. Then, after his little slap on the wrist, he gets employed by the same people, put him right back in charge, and right back in like ain't nothing happened. Unbelievable. He was at Disney, right around kids again. He said the three naked brothers in the garage. Oh yeah, that band. That was the name of the band. Who remembered that episode? What episode you talking about? A Predator from Nickelodeon was called with Chris Hansen. Oh, I don't remember that episode, but shoot, it's like I would never send my child to Disney or Nickelodeon. I wouldn't even send my kid into the Hollywood. We gonna be hand in hand. It's just terrible. This been happening since Shirley Temple. Shirley Temple talked about what happened to her at the MGM lot. And was like, oh no, we're going right back to Fox. Right, but I'm not sending them to Disney. Oh hell no. Hell to the no. I would never do that. Plus, I wouldn't send them in there as a child anyway. No way. I'd be like, you gotta have to be a teenager at best. You don't have to you have to be mindful of this. Cause I'm gonna tell them all together. I'm be like, look, I'm here on the set, but if I hear something ain't right, I'm popping people. Pop, pop, pop. Go to Weasel. No, I keep hearing everybody talking about they did animated Good Times, and I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody did something like online for a joke, but that don't even sound good. But I just saw the first Omen, and oh my god, that shit is creepy as hell. Not only is that creepy as hell, it's nothing but horror movies out. I saw Late Night with the Devil. I saw that one. The Omen, the first Omen. That's the prequel to it. So that's crazy. I'm glad Drake Bell is you know, he had the courage to come forward and do that because a lot of people can't do that. That was hard for him just to go through to revisit, all that pain. And people for the first time, like this is the first time I even heard about it with him. We knew somebody, we knew that, proper stuff was going on. Like, cause we seeing it on the news and Nickelodeon at the studio, they keep grabbing these dudes, but we damn sure. Well, yeah, that was crazy. That ending is crazy. Then the first Omen, the ending was crazy on that one. And like the last 30 minutes, I was just like about to faint. I'm like, I can't take no more of this. With that eerie music too. Oh yeah, I saw Ghostbusters and Godzilla myself. I got all my stuff down there. I got my trap. Yeah, it was great. The movies is back. Um, Godzilla. People tried to hate on it because it was kind of stupid. The last part was kind of stupid. That's why I'm like, this is really dumb. But I get it. Sell some merchandise, especially after Godzilla -1, and then you come out with this. I would feel the same way too. No, they weren't looking for Shakespeare with Godzilla. They just looking for some grounding facts. This was like all the action scenes was like really like if you dipped your head and looked up the movie over, you'd be whoa, what happened? What man, you seen most of all this on YouTube. That hurt the film. Then the trailers, they showing you damn near everything in the movie, and then the action scenes is like this. Zip, 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 zip. Like we spend too much money on CGI. We gotta go. I'm like, this for TikTok? What this TikTok ass fight you got in? Sorry about that, y'all. This is spoilers. If you ain't seen it, sorry. Only like this TikTok ass fight y'all got. Then you turn around and you make the damn Shimo the damn dog. He like, he's scratching him all under his neck. Oh, Shimu. I'm like, oh, this big. Now you got Shimu out here like a dog. Now Shimu's a good guy. Godzilla's just a hired gun. Now he can go to sleep. People in Egypt is pissed. I knew they were with the whole racist thing that they did over there with Godzilla. Now it's like Godzilla's a racist. It's not about that. Godzilla was just a racist. You didn't see how he went over there and tore down the pyramids in Egypt, just tore them all up. I knew they was gonna have a problem with that. They try to boycott Godzilla movies forever over there. They don't want to see it. They tearing up the doggone pyramids, but then he go over there to the Colosseum, over there the ruins. He carefully after he been destroying everything in the goddamn movie. He get to there and he want to tiptoe over the thing. I'm gonna go to sleep now. Tiptoe. I ain't gonna break nothing. Like, oh, you don't want to break none of the ruins, but you want to tear up the damn pyramids. Godzilla's a racist. Yeah, I actually got that video made. That video is already made. It's gonna be on the movie channel though. I just ain't uploaded it. Godzilla's a racist. It's already been done. He ain't destroyed the Coliseum. He went to sleep in it. He stayed tiptoed up in there after he done destroyed bridges and everything. I know, man. Whew. That's gonna be the last ad for the day. I'm gonna lay it down. Finally get some rest. Thanks, LB, for showing up. Sorry, it wasn't a stream yard. You would show up when it's like this. I was like, man, where's LB? The Knicks lost to man Outlaw that jinxed it. The Bulls beat the Knicks. I was like, damn. Outlaw, you came in here and jinxed the goddamn game. That last video we did, Outlaw, and they're talking about the game. I was like, you finna jinx this damn game. You let a guy off the bench. He said he kicked Josh out of the game in the first 5 minutes. Everybody that was supposed to win lost today. Well, not really. I was on the road. The Clippers won. Uh, I had the Mavs. They won. So, oh, Julius Randle out for the season. Yeah, well, I don't care about him being out for the season. I think that's the best news the Knicks ever got. The Cavs lost. Bucks lost to the Magic. Now tomorrow gonna be the tester. Oh yeah, I've been watching BMF. I ain't really into this season that much, but it's all right because that fine mama they got on there, boy. I watched that fine mama. She out there giving it up to the husband, the doctor. She out there on display, baby. Mama gotta have a life too. Yeah, they lost by 2. They supposed to lose by 4. And I'd have got paid. That cost me my parlay. Man, Dallas gonna sit there and blow the game late. Nah, you can tell the budget ain't the same no more. I'm just like, it's just stupid stuff happening. Like when they brought him a dead body, like I'm like, right outside the strip club? Somebody just gonna pull in and just drop a dead body and then walk off and just drive off. I'm like, talk to him, like, yeah, and drop the body off and pull off. And it's just so much like convenience. Like last week, they just had a shootout for 30 minutes straight. I'm just like, this don't happen. And no broad daylight one, and damn sure ain't gonna happen this long. Then they had to get back to the realism of the show because Meech had to go to St. Louis. And that's how I knew when he went to the Loop. And this is a whole story I know about BMF. That's why I was saying, like, man, you sure they went in St. Louis for the, for the what's his name? Because St. Louis be having this, the spot. Because St. Louis is BMF, and I remember that. And they had a Jack the Rapper out there in St. Louis. They had a whole bunch of stuff could jump off over there. So yeah, that's where East St. Louis is one of the roughest places in the world. Dog. Oh yeah, they shoot the lights out. But they had one of the best strip clubs in St. Louis, and they in East St. Louis, but they shoot out all the street lights. So they don't want the police seeing none of their activity. So they shoot the lights out over there. So your car lights is all you got. And every time they come and put the lights back up there, they come shoot them right back out. They don't want you to see nothing. And the strip club is right there. So you just got to get to the expressway and get out of there. Do not drive through East St. Louis. Unless you live there. Don't do it. So yeah, we know all about the BMF back then when Meach was doing his thing in the St. Louis area. So yeah, that's so I'm like, yeah, he was in St. Louis. They was in St. Louis doing some things, and I don't even want to talk because I'm just gonna sit back because it's too much, some street stuff. So I was like, I ain't gonna put that on YouTube. Man, that dude sitting there got burnt up. He was a damn fool. I'm like, he's standing there. I mean, but they make it so obvious. Like you knew. I'm like, how did you? The dude had on shades. How you gonna say, man? He looked at so and so, and you just jumped to the conclusion already. Like, hey, they cool? Yeah, they cool. How would you not know they cool? How would you not know they cool? What gave that away? Dude, hang out over there at the doggone restaurant he got every day. And I mean, they be making it like it's hard to do. I'll be like, man, if it was really on like that, they would light that damn restaurant up. They'll catch T coming out the restaurant, lay his ass right down. I'm like, dang, they wouldn't even play like this. I just think they cut the budget a little bit and for BMF this year. Now that chick Meach got, they trying to really jump that real fast. Like they went from them being real tight to I gotta go to St. Louis and she say something. Oh, you out my trust circle. I'm like, damn, that's quick. Right. He was like, what? Why would you even say that dude name to me? Well, he's playing a politician type of, you know, type guy. They went in there and beat the guy up. His son gone. He come in there. And I'm like, what is Brian's deal? Like, what is his purpose? I'm like, what was you hoping to accomplish? You was gonna go in there and blow the man daughter away, and they finna blow you away. If you take that man daughter out, he finna take you out with him. So if you coming in there like that, you gotta be prepared to go. You got the gun on it, you just pull. You already saying I'm going out. So he sit there, don't do nothing, and then he just wake up outside, beat up. He grab and they give him his guns and everything, and then he going home. What was the sense of that? So anyway, like I said, y'all kept me on another 9 minutes. All right, I'm gonna get some sleep. All right, y'all. Deuces.